Welcome back to One on One with Mr. U. Of course, I'm your host, Mr. U. In studio with us, the host of the Daughter Podcast, our friend Oscar Peña is in the house, man. Oscar, how you doing, brother?
What's up, Yusuf? I'm doing amazing, dude. I appreciate you having me on. I'm honored and stoked to be here.
Same here, man. We had some awesome convos, man. I'm excited for the audience to hear more about you, your show, and your life as a girl. Dad, we're going to get into all that stuff, man. But if you can, tell me what's the biggest mindset shift that brought you from your childhood as a young Oscar to the man that you are today? What do you think is the biggest mindset shift that happened that kind of brought you from that place to where you are now in
Oh,
maturity?
brother, I think the mindset shift, if any, I could pinpoint is the birth of my daughters. Period. Growing up, knucklehead kid, getting in trouble, doing the atypical boy stuff. Um, Never in my wildest dreams did I think I'd have any daughters, and this shift has been getting out of that mindset of, you can call it old school mindset, you can call it a stereotypical mindset of a boy and a man, in this day and age, but having to learn emotional intelligence in a different facet than I ever thought I would have to. And I've been married for 22 years, brother. So I've learned some of
Yeah,
it.
it's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you, thank you. So I haven't gotten fired, so I've obviously learned a little bit there. But when my daughter got to us, man, it just became apparent that I was behind the curve. So that's probably been the biggest shift since I was a knucklehead kid growing up.
Behind the curve, huh?
Yeah, brother.
Surprised how good you're probably doing right now, man. I love it. I want to get into all this stuff as much as we can today. It's awesome. You got an awesome life, brother. Uh, if you could pinpoint this, how do you believe you overcame the whole breadwinner mentality
Yeah.
and got intentional about investing in your family? We got a podcast. I'm sure you guys already heard about it. I know you heard about it, called the Men's Roundtable Series podcast. It's a safe space for men. We do it once a month, and we talk about stuff on air, live, that men normally don't touch. They don't talk about.
Right.
This is one of those things. That idea of being a breadwinner and not taking the time to intentionally invest in your family because you think, oh, it makes you weak or it slows you down.
Yeah.
When did you overcome the whole breadwinner mentality, you think?
Brother, I wish I could tell you it was quickly after my daughter got to me, but um my first daughter was born in 2012, and I was in the midst of it, like a middle of a military career, and I was
Okay.
busy and I was out and I was, you know, just not at home, and then it was easy to be not physic or not mentally present when I was home because I was thinking of the next mission, the next thing that we're doing, and I think part of that was me a little bit escaping from, like, holy crap, I've got this little human that I gotta, like, figure out,
Right.
and I wish it would have just hit me then. And my second daughter got to us in 2015, and I think I got better. I hope I got a little bit better for her, but still, I don't, hindsight's 2020, right? Like, looking back, I don't think I was as present as I could have been. It
Mm.
wasn't until COVID, right? My youngest daughter was born August of 2020. And because she was born at that time, as you know, everything kind of closed down March, April-ish timeframe. And don't quote me on that because that was a
Yeah.
wild time. Um,
Very
right?
wild.
Very
Yeah.
wild. So she got to us then. I'm like there. I'm kind of, for lack of better terms, I'm forced to be home and I'm forced to be present. I'm there. Like, what else am I gonna do? And so then I just started to realize all of a sudden, like, this weight hit me. It first started as kind of selfish, like, oh man, I missed this with my other two. Like, I missed this real presence with my other two. It was about, almost like, about me. And then I couldn't tell you when exactly, but it hit me even more heavy, that it became apparent to me that I took that away from them too. I took away a present father from them early on because I just wasn't intentional in what I was doing. And so it wasn't until my third daughter got to us that I really realized, like, man, I owe them so much more than just a house and the food and the warmth. Like I owe them everything, and that really is the genesis. Ultimately, it was cut a while ago, but the genesis of how we have a podcast today.
Definitely. No, I love deep stories like this because they teach. They teach those that have gone through it, have not yet, or may
Yeah.
go through it later on. I love it. What do you think the impact was? I know your daughter's not on screen with us right now, but what do you think the impact was on your daughter for the time that you weren't there, for the time that you weren't committed or really focused on cultivating that kind of relationship with them? What do you think the impact was? If they told you, if you heard them kind of say it
Yeah.
indirectly, what do you think the impact was?
No, man, I don't I cannot recall a conversation where they were like, "Hey, you weren't there for us." And I think that's probably one of those heavy things that you carry around. Like, what will be the impact of that, right? They may not even realize it at this moment that I wasn't as present as I could have been until they really see me being present with my youngest. And in those conversations we've had, like, oh,
Okay.
I don't ever remember you doing that with us. And then I get real honest and
Ooh.
say, I didn't, baby. I didn't do this with you. One, because we weren't in COVID, or we weren't, you know, um, we weren't in the specific context of a situation. But two, because I wasn't as present as I should have been, and I learned that too late.
How'd you answer that when they inevitably ask, so why weren't you? What was your answer for that?
Man, I don't think I've ever gotten asked that question as far as like why
Oh,
weren't you present.
okay.
But the only thing I can think of for me, and this is kind of interesting because we've gotten some comments on I think a couple of videos I've made for the podcast, and I think it's fear, dude. I
Hmm.
think it's fear of screwing it up, right? It's like if you look at the bare minimum or the stereotypical uh, providing, you're looking at, do they have a roof over their head? Do they have food on their table? Is everything warm? Like, are we good? All right,
Hmm.
I'm doing good. And so when I look at that, I start thinking, man, I think the only other thing that I could put in place of that is fear. What if I don't do this correctly? What if I'm here and I lose my emotions? So maybe I'll just, step over there. You kind of get that like stereotypical feeling of that, that dad in the sitcoms. It's like we're hanging out in the garage because the daughters are all inside and the mom's all inside. And it's like the garage
Yeah.
is a safe space, right?
Wow. You saying a lot there, brother. That's a lot. That's a lot.
But you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it's almost that feeling of like, well, if I'm not here, maybe I don't screw it up as bad. And we don't even know what screwing up means because we don't know if the impact is years later, if it's right now. Um, but I can tell you that having changed that mindset, having the privilege of talking to people, learning from people, and then implementing that learning right away has made me able to confront those little fears a lot better. Right. And I can actually have a conversation with my daughter, sit down and be like, listen, this is kind of a fear of mine, and here's why, right? And then we can kind of talk it out. Now, I don't do that with a 5-year-old. I think we've talked about fear, but not in that bigger scheme, just because she's 5 and we could get lost in that conversation. But
Oh
with
yeah.
my oldest, we've had those conversations before.
Yeah, man. That's that intentionality in relationship. That's the reason why. That's the reason why when Father's Day come around,
Mm,
why the ads on TV are what they are. That's
yeah,
why you get macaroni hats and ties and visors for Father's Day. That's why, because we haven't taken time to know them and they don't know us.
that's
They get
that's
what
absolutely true.
they give us what they think we're going to want. We may not want a new wrench. We may want a book.
Yeah,
We may not want a tie. We may want, a new pair of sneakers that we really need so we
right.
can run. I mean, so it's just about knowing each other, and that's what fatherhood it should be about. I want to so when I ask you what the turning point is and why you had to show up differently, was it the birth of your child, or was it something else that happened that made you say, you know what, I got to show up, and I got to show up right now?
I can't pinpoint it to a specific moment other than the fact that it just I started to lose sleep all of a sudden, and it was that feeling that I deprived my other two of intentionality. Because I was home with the other two, then I would help, right? I would do the diapers. I would, don't get me wrong, like it wasn't like I wasn't a robot. I mean, I enjoyed them. I have memories of enjoying them, but not like my last one, right? So when you look at doing something intentionally, you tend to remember it. You tend to um, kind of make a core memory of it. And when you're not intentional, I mean, how many times, you're in a conversation and you're not really paying attention to the conversation because you're not being intentional, and then you don't remember that conversation. I mean, if you can take it all the way back to school, the professor's talking and you're like, I have no clue what he said all class, right? Because
Yeah.
we're not being intentional. It's just human nature and the way our brains work. Um, so I just remember, I think, man, I want to say it was like 2021, like early 2021. I started to lose sleep and I couldn't figure out why. And the more and more I started to do that, I realized I needed to figure it out. So I would start writing. All right, what's bugging me today? And nothing in my day was like, I mean, it was COVID, dude. Like we were all home. So other than really worrying about the world ending because of a virus, um, I couldn't figure out what really would have been bothering me. And it just hit me one day. I'm like, man, I remember leaving my office because I had a little office there working from home, and I looked at my oldest daughter. She was doing something with her sisters, and it just gave me like this hurt in my chest, and it
Okay.
just it dawned on me. I'm like, that's what it is. I saw her for the first time. Like I really saw her and realized maybe I haven't seen her like I should have in the past. Um,
Wow.
and it was a weird feeling. And I know we say the word feeling, and some guys probably check out of this live, but it was weird, bro. Like I just realized it, and I started writing that down. As soon as I started realizing it, I started writing that down, and that journal really started talking back to me. And that's what told me, man, you're missing out. You're all in your head, or you're trying to escape into work, or you're trying to, whatever. And man, it felt heavy. It feels heavy because I want to make that up. You can't, as you
Yeah.
know, can't go back in time. But I still have time. We all have time. No matter how old your kids are, you have time. Like you got to do the best with the
Absolutely.
time that you got. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. There's a real power in writing stuff down. I talk about it a lot on one of our other shows, but different podcasts, different time. We'll
Yeah.
table that part. But I want to ask you a tough question. If you can't answer it, it's all good, man. Move on to the next one. It's no big deal. But I
Send
do
it.
ask tough questions on the show. It just that's what happens. When you talk about not showing up and not being fully present,
Mm.
tell me the standpoint that your wife had about that. You told me about
Oh
yourself,
man.
how the kids had. What did you hear from her? What did you see from her? Was there a reaction? Was it verbal? Was it non-verbal?
Mm.
How do you know? How did you know from her standpoint that you weren't showing up?
Right. I absolutely will not speak for her because I'm sure she's got her own words
Yeah,
to that, right?
yeah. She can come in and tell you right now. Don't matter how you want to do that, but I just don't. I want to get her perspective because that's really
Yes.
important.
That's such a critical question, brother, because I talk a lot about my daughters and missing that time, right? One thing that I think we might miss, and I'll just say I know I've missed, is the fact that, so I mentioned in my career at that moment of my first daughter being born, the way that it worked, she was born in one state, and 2 months later we traveled to the new location because, as you guys know,
Wow.
military moves us around. So
Yeah,
that's a lot. That's a lot in its own.
that's already a lot. Yeah,
But keep in mind, both my wife and I, we were married for over 8.5 years by ourselves, no kids. So it's just her and I, right? She's my ride or die. We're doing all the things, right? And all of a sudden we have this massive change in our life, which is a baby. And then we have another massive change, which is literally moving across country. And I get right into work because that's what we do. You get there to a new base and you start working. And one of the things that I know impacted us was how my lack of intentionality and presence affected her. Because not only did she just make a human, which changes a person, right? Now she's got to deal with all the back end stuff. You got hormones, you've got all these things. And oh, by the way, this little thing that now depends. almost, I would say, what, 99% on the mama,
99.999. Yeah,
right?
the whole decimal thing. Yeah,
So she's got
got it.
all this pressure on her. She doesn't know how to mom, just like I don't know how to dad. You know how many times I considered that? Probably 0,
0.
right? Because I'm, like, in my head about this whole thing. And looking back, I think, and I'm just like, that must have felt horrible. Not only was I physically gone, but then when I was home, I'm not here. I'm, like, thinking of something else. And it was a tough time, man. She went through a tough time. I think, they call it postpartum stuff.
Mhm.
I could have been way better in that time if had I been more present with her and my child. And again, that took time to really realize that, to realize that it wasn't just my daughter that didn't get my presence. It was my wife, this person who I admire and love so much that unintentionally I kind of left hanging, right?
Wow, that's
Um,
powerful.
I mean, I'm there, right? But how much am I mentally there? Um, and this is all hindsight, dude. Like, it sucks that we have to look back that far and be like, I screwed that up. Um, but I work every day to let her know, to show her how much I appreciate her and how much she means to not just me but our family, because she's the matriarch, dude. She's the boss around here, and I wouldn't have any other way.
Love it, man. You're definitely a girl dad, man. I'm
Yeah.
one as well. I think we discussed it. I got 3 daughters and 2 granddaughters, and it's like the whole girl dad thing. It was a ride for me, man, because I didn't understand how to navigate a lot of that kind of stuff. Didn't have a father in the house. I didn't know what I was actually involved in, what I was doing. There's many times where I questioned how am I going to raise these kids? I've never seen this happen before. I don't know what to do here.
Yep.
At the same time, I think about what you have experienced, what you're experiencing right now. So I want you to really another tough question. How are you personally guarding against the relationship being manipulated? I'm
Okay.
asking that because in my experience, what I noticed is that when you have not every girl dad situation, it's just the one that I experienced, and it's the one that I've seen by extension. A lot of times it can be like, oh, if I ask this the right way, or if I do this, I'll get daddy will give me what I want. Mom
Right.
says no, but daddy's going to say yes
Yeah. Yeah.
because
Yeah.
the girl dad. You may
Yeah.
not have seen that yet, or maybe you already seen it 10 times already.
Yeah.
How do you guard against that relationship kind of being twisted and manipulated?
Oh man,
You can answer that.
communication.
You can answer that. Blink twice if you need help.
No, my little one came in the room and I didn't want to blow her off there. Communication, 100%. And it's not perfect, dude. It's not perfect, but my wife and I make it a point every night to have a conversation, not just about the kids, but about the day, right? And I was really bad about it. So the manipulation thing got real because I would kind of be I'm kind of the no guy, right? Like, I like to say no
Okay.
first before I know what we're getting into. No, 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 wait, wait. Um, Mama's a little bit more of the yes person,
Okay.
and if I'm not careful, they can play that real easily, right? And before it'd be like no, and then they'd be like, "But Mama," I'm like, "No, no, I said no," and we shut it down. Well, what happens when I go meet Mama? She's like, I already said yes to that, right? So now you have this tension in the ranks of the leadership, no good. And we saw a little bit play there.
Okay.
But now I do my best. Again, this is a work in progress, and you and I talked before. Like, I'm in a trench with everybody else trying to figure this thing out, right? Um, Now if they tell me something, I'll say, "What did Mama say?" Right? I
You
haven't
hear
talked
that?
to her.
That's the right
Okay,
response.
well now I can make a decision if
Literally.
Mama hadn't been talked to, right? Now I try to make it in line with what we as a couple would do, but I don't get it right most of the time. But nevertheless, if they haven't talked to Mama, I can make the decision. If they did talk to Mama, I'm like, well, what did she say? And even if I don't like it, here's the kicker. There's been many times where Mama said yes to whatever, and I'm like, all right, Mama said yes. Like, go do your thing. And then I come in the room like, why would you do that? Like, so. But that communication, man, is been the most critical point, not just in our marriage, but absolutely in our parenting, to be able to say, no, whatever your mama said is what's happening. Whatever I said, mama's also saying is happening. Like, this is it. We're one team. So don't be playing these games where, he said, she said, like, it's not gonna work around here. So
Got it.
far, again, a work in progress. But so far, they have not divided the team here. So we're still online.
I ain't gonna scare you with my scary story. We can just, I'm here for you if you need me. Just reach out to me offline. All right, so I want to get into two key areas before our broadcast ends today. One is your podcast.
Hmm.
What inspired you to start the Daughter Podcast?
What inspired me is the realization that I just don't know what I'm doing. I mean, you know, um, jokes aside, like, it's realizing that I should have been more present. I should have been more mindful of how my daughters were perceiving me. And then, if you read anything in our podcast, there's strong, mindful, and present, right?
Mm-hmm.
Strength for me before my kids just meant I could be strong, right? I could pick up weights and I can run and I can do these things that are strength based.
Yeah.
They've taught me that it's so much more than that. It's emotional strength where I can carry not only my emotions and control them, but also be able to handle and carry my wife's emotions. And now being able to handle and carry my daughter's emotions, right? Without breaking. That's a huge strength. And so understanding that I was missing all these aspects, all these gaps in my ability to father these girls, um, I realized, well, I've got all these questions and concerns. I'm sure others do too. And as we started, I had a buddy that started that podcast with me, and we started talking a lot. And all of a sudden, as we started talking about a possibility of a podcast, we would get these like signals, right? Like social media, some guy would be like, "Hey, is there anywhere where we can, like, fathers or daughters can talk about being fathers daughters?" I was like, "Yeah, it's over here. We just haven't started it yet." Like we started thinking about this, and then I realized, for me, you know, if I do nothing else, if you or anybody else doesn't listen to this podcast, at the bare minimum, my daughters know that I was searching for answers and searching for wisdom and growth until the day I'm gone. Right? That's one. But two, if only one person listens to it and it makes a difference, I'm sitting here thinking, well, that's it, right there. That kid just got a more present dad. That father just got to enjoy that child more and be present. And odds are, with those two, relationship got better, right? So why not? And that was really the trigger. In 2024, I think April was our first episode. February, March, it was kind of the
Okay. Okay.
workup, and then in April we hit the road. I'd like to say we hit the road running, but if you all don't know how to podcast, like, it's not as easy as it looks. So we probably hit the road stumbling a couple times, but we're here and we're still going.
That was my next question. What was your biggest challenge in podcasting so far?
It's almost the same challenge as being a father, brother. It's literal lack of knowledge. I don't know what I don't know. I don't know what I do know, and we're gonna figure this out. And yeah, for me, it's, I greatly enjoy the conversation. I enjoy sitting down, and I become more fond of it the more and more I do it. These conversations that we have, and the perspectives and everything that someone else may have gone through that I would have never thought of, that kind of stuff. Enjoy that. Editing, social media, like all the things, all the necessary evils for.
Everybody enjoys that part.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that makes you feel better because I thought everybody enjoyed that, and I'm just like trying to,
No, I loathe that part.
yeah.
But
So, well, that's definitely the hardest part.
I love this.
Yes, but I will say this: the community of podcasters, maybe, I don't know if we say that word. Is that correct,
Yeah,
dude?
absolutely. Absolutely.
The community I fell into, like people like you, people like the people that have been on my show and promoted my show, like, bro, the community is awesome. Like,
No doubt.
I wouldn't be here
Very
without
tight.
yeah, I wouldn't be here without their help and their guidance to figure out like, wait, how do you do anything with the sound? Oh, there's one button. Cool. How do you record? Oh, that one button there. Cool. And it's just it's crazy. So um it's that's been the hardest part. The easiest part is getting on here and and talking to people and finding out what perspectives everybody has.
Yeah, I don't know if you've done it yet, but you definitely got to have your wife and maybe your oldest daughter on one of your episodes and talk. It'd be a blast. Just a suggestion. We can talk about it offline. But
Yeah.
last question about that. I want to get more into the whole idea of redefining masculinity. I think we need to spend a little time on it. We don't have a lot of time, but we want to spend
Yeah.
a little time on that if we can. Here's another tough question, I think. How do you personally toe the line between protecting your child and allowing them to be as independent as they need to be? How do you toe that line?
If you had asked me this when my first daughter got to me, my answer is I'm gonna go buy guns. I'm gonna put a fence around my house, right? Like I like protection mode, right?
What's wrong with that? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
That's what I did. I mean, but
Hey,
that's
I'm
that's
not
not
saying
why.
that I didn't. I'm
That's
just
not why.
saying the answer would have been different. To add on to that, the answer now also is combined with the knowledge that I won't be here or everywhere they are to protect them at all times. And and unfortunately, at times it's a crappy world and there's crappy people. And
Yeah,
so with that realization, I started to work towards, all right, how do I make my daughters as capable as possible, as reasoning as possible, and as compatible as possible? This world is full of people. So if you can't be around people, you have a problem. If you can't disagree civilly, you have a problem. We're seeing that now, right? And
yeah,
so as I started to look at this from an outsider's perspective, I try to step back and I realized, well, I'm not going to be here forever. And oh, by the way, my job takes me away. So I'm definitely not home sometimes to help protect
mm,
them. So how do we do this? I try to make them as knowledgeable as possible of the things that they need to know within the context of their age and stage. And hoping that they understand these things so that they know how to protect themselves. I know
mm,
that's the soft answer, brother, but what more can I do, right? Other than
yeah,
invest everything that I know into them so that then they can move forward and do it on their own. And that's really in my eyes protecting them is how do I give them enough knowledge, not scare the heck out of them about life, but give them enough knowledge to to be cognizant of the things that can happen and also how they can react to it.
yeah. And I think the power of community plays a part in that too. I was
Oh,
going to ask
absolutely.
you, I think you already answered that really, really good there. Let's talk about redefining masculinity. I know
Mhm.
that masculinity is often portrayed as something that's negative. That's why I have a podcast for men.
Yeah.
They have to push against that kind of darkness. How does what you do in your work challenge those stereotypes? What does healthy masculinity look like to you?
You know, you know better than I do that it depends on who you're asking that question, right?
Yeah,
Now,
I'm asking you though.
I don't know, I'm not very eloquent with words. Maybe
You're doing
redefining
great.
is not the word to do, maybe.
You're doing great.
But when I look at it, I'm a masculine dude and I'm good with that. And I want my daughters to see that. But the stereotypical, or we're just gonna put it into quotations if you're listening to this, stereotypical masculine and almost like veering into that those two special words people like to use is toxic masculinity, right? Is the dude that cuts the line at like only dude things, right? Oh, I do the outside, my wife does the inside, and that's the way we work. You could do that. I have no problem with that. What I want to show in my masculinity is the strength that I talked about, and that's emotional, physical, and um, mental, all the things, right? All the different type of strength. And then also, I want to walk in the door and I want to make dinner for my girls, and I want to make sure that whatever needs to be done in the house just gets done. There's no like, oh, that's your mama's job. That's not how this works, right? And
Hmm.
I'm teaching my daughters to do the same. Hey, do you see that needs to be done? Go get it done. If not, I'll go get it done. And that's when I look at masculinity within the home environment, at least for my daughters. I want them to see that I'm a rugged, knuckle dragging dude. I want them to see that, right? But I also want them to see that I can do everything else. And I want to do these things for them. At the same time, I also want them to see that the masculinity side that says I will protect you till my life ends, it's there. You better believe that, right? And I want them to see that as well. So when I look at redefining it, I honestly don't think we're redefining. I think we're trying to show what real masculinity looks like. Toxic people are everywhere. To me, it's not toxic masculinity or femininity. That's just toxic people, right?
There you
So
go.
I mean, I'm a masculine dude. They're gonna see that, and I'm proud of that, and I want them to see it. And guess what? I want them to look for a dude that is also masculine in future life, so that I know that that individual will care for them and take care of them in the way that I want them to be taken care of. That's just the
Yeah,
way I am.
that works. We got hopefully we got time for just a few more questions, and then we get you out of here. All right. So, in your mind, what are some practical ways that dads can be more present? I know you talked a lot about trying to catch up and make up for and repair the
Yeah,
connections, and we kind of understand that that's probably not possible to catch up, but you can repair connections that have been broken.
yeah.
So that's kind of a two-part question. What are practical ways that dads can be more present when they're busy in a way like yourself
Mm,
because of your job? And how do dads repair the connection when they kind of missed it with their daughters or
yeah.
with their kids?
I'll take the second one first, just
Okay,
because in my experience, repairing to me has been actually talking about the things that I feel need to be repaired, first of all.
fair, fair,
So
fair.
with my oldest, we'll go on a date and we'll sit down, and
Love
first and
that.
foremost, I let her just talk, and you'd be surprised we can go the whole date without me saying a word, and that's fine. Like it's like the time, right? And that's one of those practical things that I do is I have to be very purposeful to not get into that conversation if she's riffing on whatever because she's thinking that out loud. And it's been very helpful and very practical to do that. Very hard though, because as you know, like I'm listening to something, I'm like, oh, that's dumb. Like let's just not talk about that. But it's kind of nice to let her go through it, and a lot of times, most of the time, she just figures it out on her own if I allow it. Other than that, if I don't allow it, then we start squabbles, and it's the whole thing. Um, so repairing for me, man, has been like if I do get the chance to talk, I say, hey, listen, this is one thing that's bothering me about when you were younger, and I know you may not remember it, but here's what happened, and here's how I feel about it, and I just thought you should know. And it's crazy the conversations that arise from that. It's wild. Like there's times she'll remember something very vividly, and I'm like, you were like 5, right? And that's what scares me because I'm like, oh, I screwed up a lot, dude. Like she's gonna remember all these things, but it's okay now because we're able to talk about them. And I tell her, I make a point to tell her the special relationship that her and I have that I don't have with her siblings. She's the oldest, so she's teaching me how to be a dad every minute of every day
Mm.
all the time, whether she chose to or not. It's her lot in life, and it sucks for her because she's kind of getting the raw end of the deal. But that's she's teaching both my wife and I how to parent because we're probably going to do better with her siblings because of her. And voicing that out loud to her and letting her know, hey, we're human. We are, I it sounds dumb, but I try not to say, "Hey, I'm figuring it out as I go," because it's like I want her to know that that I'm doing well. But that's what we're doing. We're making this ship on the water, dude. Like we're just like trying to put together stuff. But I think doing that gives her a view of the real us. Oh, my parents don't have it all figured out, but they're trying. And when they screw up, they take responsibility and accountability, and then we move forward, right? And so that's for me, that's what making up those mistakes has looked like, making those relationship rebonding. As far as the practical stuff, dude, I get again, I mentioned it several times. The knuckle dragging for me, It's got to be practical. And we have everything in our lives right now that wants to take our attention. Everything wants our attention. Phone, computer, TV, and then people and all work, whatever. I make it a point now when they start talking, I make sure my phone is down. Or if I, for whatever reason, I can't put it down, if I'm on a phone call or doing something, I ask them to just give me whatever, the 2, 3 minutes to finish so that I can pay attention. Once I do that, I physically will stare at their eyes and the region of their mouth as they're talking. It sounds weird, I know, but I
It's not
found
weird.
that as I do that, specifically this area, I see they communicate a lot that they don't say, right? Because of the facial expressions, and I'm able to catch
Absolutely.
these things, and because I'm like
Being
it,
intentional.
intentional, and it almost feels weird because I'm like kind of staring in, but it really keeps me in the moment. Like it keeps me right there, and I'm actually able to listen. And sometimes it distracts me so much that it stops me from interrupting them and getting into the conversation. And so that to me has been very useful to be able to just be like, all right, I'm gonna zone in right here and nothing else. Her sibling will come over to talk to me, and I'll just give her a hand for a second, and she'll wait until she's done with her sentence or whatever, and then I kind of address. But doing that has been a practical, very useful thing for me to sit
I love it.
with them in the moment.
I love it. All right. In one sentence, describe for me your ideal idea of community.
Ooh, one sentence. Sometimes men don't like to ask for help, but in ideal community, you don't necessarily have to ask for it, but you'll hear the help in the community. And I think that's where that community comes into play. Just like your
Okay.
community, just like the daughter community. You may not ask me physically for the help, but it's there. You're going to be able to go there and be like, oh, Joseph already went through this and he just talked about this. I'm going to do that now.
I like it. I like it. All right. Last question, then I get you out of here and get you back to your girls. I feel like, and I never heard anybody say this, so this could be unique. Maybe it's not. I hope it's not copywritten, but it feels like people who well, men that raise boys
Mm,
thinks that they're better men because of it.
mm,
I taught my boy how to do it. My boy knew how to hunt and fish. My boy had how to race a drag racing. So I think there's an idea. Maybe it's unspoken, but they think they are better men because they raise boys. Tell me
mm.
how you think. This is our last question for today. Tell me how you think we're better men for raising girls. I ain't gonna say nothing here, even though I'm a girl dad too. I ain't gonna say a word. This is you right here.
We
Bring it
try to
to us.
start. We're trying to start a rift there, a little battle here. We could.
Yes. No, sir.
uh, this is what I would say. I'm obviously biased. I only have girls, but this is what I would say. If I had to raise a boy, I would probably start the way that I was raised. I'm a boy, and it would almost feel like I already kind of know what I'm doing. And I tell you that because when I thought that we might have a boy, that's the exact thought process I had. Having girls flipped my world completely upside down
Oh, yeah.
and made me stretch in every angle that I had never imagined I would have to stretch. Emotionally, physically, uh, mentally, patiently, like all of those angles that I never would have imagined. Um, they've been they've been stretched by them, and so I think raising a daughter, a man raising a daughter, is going to have to change and have to be willing to grow with that daughter because they're gonna poke at every angle that you have.
No question. With the last 120 seconds, I want to give you that last 2 minutes. Speak to people, whatever's on your heart, man. Whatever you want to say.
Yeah,
This is your time. After you're done, we're closing the show out. Floor is
I'll
yours,
tell you
brother.
what. People tell you all the time goes by real quickly. And if you have any kids right now, I know you feel it. You look over and you blink and you're like, what the hell? They're 3, now they're 5, now they're 13. And all I can say is that if we missed being present, not only do I miss out, but our kids are missing out on the possibility of an intentional father that maybe some of us didn't have. And so that presence is going to make the difference going forward in the rest of this thing called the world and society. What our kids are getting from us, what they see from us, that is exactly what they're going to be doing. Not what we're saying, but what we're doing. And so being mindful of how they're perceiving us is just critically important. How we treat people, how we treat problems, and how we get up from failure. And they're going to look at that. And that mindfulness will allow you to be present as well. So all I could say is find a way to be present. Stare at their teeth, stare at their nose. I don't know. Get locked in a room, but be present with them, and you will find a whole new world when you do that. So that's all I got to say about that.
Thank you, brother. Oscar, you're an awesome man. You got an incredible family. That's pretty obvious. And an incredible podcast as well. If you guys are watching and listening for the first time, you want to check out Oscar's podcast, wherever you get your podcast from, The Daughter Podcast. It's going to be a link's going to be in the show notes. You can find that show on Apple Podcasts, I'm sure, probably Spotify, anywhere you get your YouTube channel as well.
Everywhere. Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
YouTube, everywhere.
I'm subscribed to your YouTube channel. I think I am too. The Daughter Podcast. It's Oscar
That's
Peña.
right.
I'm Mr. U. Thanks again for watching, listening to the show. We're out of here. Any questions for us? Drop it in the comments section or DM us on social media. Happy to answer those questions. Have a great day. Thanks for watching One-on-One with Mr. U.